The people are a group of about 250,000 people living in a rather remote area in Siberia. Throughout most of their history, they were nominal Buddhists, but practically speaking, they were mostly shamanists or animists, meaning that they feared spirits that controlled their lives, and they would go to shamans or witch doctors to try to figure out how they could make those spirits happy and placate them so that they would have better results in their lives. Then when the Soviet Union came in, of course, all of that became illegal and many shamans were killed, the Buddhist monasteries were torn down, and there was a tremendous period of upheaval, not only politically, but also spiritually speaking, where they didn't even know themselves what they believed. And so then in the 90s, after the fall of the Soviet Union, when there was religious freedom again, many people went back to the old shamanic practices. And in fact, most today believe in shamans and sort of see Buddhist lamas maybe interchangeably with shamans. When we moved there in the mid-2000s, our first goal was to see whether they had access to the gospel in their own language. And it became pretty clear that though there were a few churches there among the Russian speakers, most of the population that did not speak Russian didn't really have access to the gospel and couldn't understand it in the Russian language. We also began with a business because the government required us to have a visa there that was a work visa. And so we opened up a pine nut factory where we would buy pine nuts from men and women that would go into the forest and gather them, and then we would shell them and sell the finished raw pine nuts. So that gave us a platform to allow us to be in the area and really gave us a good base of relationships that we could begin to work with. Together with a couple of believers that had accepted the Lord in some of the Russian churches, we began developing the foundational Bible teaching materials. Even the ones that were just helping us to produce the material themselves were being impacted. And then when we began teaching the narrative story of God and how the Bible presents His story, it was so fascinating to see lives changed.
간장 두살란데 ирган бурууның сөзі кижіне өскеттіріп бірінсінауы қандырда көрпіріңі кижей болды қысқаш бізіне қонжыттыр әстің хей болды бірін. Бізіне қонжыттыр әстің бодының сөзі өредір бұзы хей. Именно бурууның сөзі кижіне өскеттірін жан көрдім просто бұл кичейлеріне етет біріштің.
А через полгода я посещала эти встречи, молодежные встречи. Мне там рассказывали все больше и больше о Боге. Сначала мне это не очень нравилось, но потом я смирилась с этим, а потом я полюбила его.
Потом уже, когда были переводы «Основы веры», и там немножко присутствовало в переводе, там смерть Иисуса Христа, вот это, что Он сделал, тогда я просто понимала, что Иисус сделал на кресте. И теперь уже, когда вот «Основы веры» перевели на тувинский язык, я же четко стала понимать общую картинку, то, что Он Бог как бы любящий.
Библия син ботарсын долыста хэрэг жэзэ киши бирүзү карганда улуда бичида ижи номжуурга билип аарга эки оран пресс орус тилгарында болсо кишилеринде кончук чоок кылдыр клейп шадабазан боттардын тылынга Библия турар болсо боттардын тылынга ном бичейлдер турар болсо öğrenip bilip ağrı sonur kaldı goran. Жа аштың табадылға турар болсо эрге жок жогула.
We started to see people who had maybe even attended church off and on, but weren't really sure because the teaching was not being done in their first language, to really understand for the first time. We started to see people who had never heard the truth to hear and understand for the first time, and it was really exciting to watch the Holy Spirit change the lives of men and women, and to see them understand the amazing gift of Jesus Christ and his death on the cross and what he'd accomplished for them.
Думал, с добрыми делами человек спасается. Но на самом деле так не получается. Бог Иисус Христос прощает, умер за мои грехи.
Когда вот понимаешь всю вот эту историю, все, что он запланировал и сделал, это просто он просто освобождает тебя. И я просто теперь понимаю, что от меня ничего не требуется, как только просто принимать его любовь и верить просто ему.
It was really exciting because we just saw excitement grow among these people. You know, people who have been living in fear and darkness for generations, for centuries, and all of a sudden they're told about the truth, about the gospel, about Jesus, and just to see as we go through these lessons, just their eyes just light up of understanding what Jesus actually did for them. It was so exciting for us to see this in them, that they just light up. And not only that, they would go out and tell people, their friends and their family, about what they're hearing and bring them in. And just to see this explosion of everyone wanting a desire for their families and their friends to hear this, it was just exciting for us to see that too.
One of the barriers that was really difficult for us at first was that because of the history, there was a lot of perception that Jesus is the Russian God. He's not our God. Jesus is the God of the white people that came here. And so even people that would start listening to the stories, would want to find out more about the Bible, would literally be accused by his family members and friends of being a traitor to his own people.
Не считая, что они уже как не наши, да, вот уже отделяют нас. И со стороны друзей тоже вот, считают, что предателями, да, как веры там, на другие, уже Иисуса, там, на другие религии пошли, вы уже не наши, там, не буддийские, уже вот, как бы предателями оказались. И сложно, ну, с одной стороны сложно.
Когда я работала, я просто рассказала про Иисуса Христа там, своим коллегам. Там. И вот через некоторое время директору кто-то сказал, и она не хотела связываться со мной. И из-за веры просто она объяснила. Сначала вот, ты реши вопрос со своей верой. И ты, наверное, не понимаешь, во что веришь, и не нужно таких работников.
So one of the things that was so incredible for us to watch was the way in which God's story shows how Jesus himself and God the Father is not the God of the Russians or of any nation. He is the God of everyone.
Хöyли таважаннар хöyли тавалар Иисус Христос нөө орус бурандэр чугэдзе православный храмнар, то есть уже с рождения, наверное, уже төлтнүк бэйснен жедип уже ада езиняны өрөйт бакымат ол дерге бургоштар бурганы деп. Аммин бузу чугэ орстарның эстегам. На самом деле он был евреем, не русским. И жаңаштын киши чон бүрүсүнгө, киши бүрүсүнгө вот Иисус Христос.
We knew there would be challenges, and we just didn't know how extreme the challenges would be. One of the biggest challenges, of course, the cold. It is Siberia, and it gets down to -40 usually in the winter. The winter will last around 6 months. So you can't really go outside. If you do, you have to cover from head to toe. You would have frostbite within 5 minutes if you went out any skin exposed. Another challenge is that they heat the city with coal dust. or as coal, which causes a cloud of coal dust just hovering around the city. And so everything turns black. You breathe in this coal dust. It has caused us a lot of health problems, and of course the local people there, a lot of lung problems and breathing problems. And it's just, it can be challenging to get through those winters, but usually that's when most of the work gets done, because people are just stuck indoors, not able to do anything. Of course, we see a lot of alcoholism during that time too, people trying to get warm and people just getting bored.
I think if you had to sum up in one word before Christ arrived there, the word would have to be hopeless. The people lived in such darkness and such fear that constantly plagued everything that they did. They had no way of knowing whether what they had done to make the spirits happy would be successful or not. So whenever anyone got ill, whenever anyone wanted to have a baby, whenever someone was looking for a new job, they would go to the shaman, and the shaman would tell them what to do in order to make the spirits happy, what ceremonies to perform, and then they would try to perform them, but there was no guarantee that that would work. And so most of the time their reaction over time just became hopelessness, because they saw that the animism that they lived in didn't really work. It didn't answer the questions that they had about life. And so many struggle with alcoholism. They would just drink to forget their problems, to forget all that was going on in their life and the hopeless state of it.
Люди просто, как ситуация была, так и жили. Без надежды, без Бога. Просто люди мучались, страдали. Тяжелые времена, они просто думали, что что-то спасает, духи спасает, поклонялись идолам, шаманам, ламам поклонялись.
Чилеже olsa adam çiğarıqlı demdekde payılap toylar mındıglar. Ondan tüngdelinde demeylen bağay boran. Çoşqır kırışır. Öldürüşken, bijekteşken жерден көй boran. Жаңа аштың Бұрғанның сөзі, сөзін тыңнақ башпаса, Бұрған алды алышын дері Бұрғандыр дейіштің үзірей берген соңында арықлар, тақлар, оға шілді боп, үгілі өндік бағай ағашаң, үгілі елдерден Бұрған адырық қостақ баған. Амбо едам, ең адам, едер жыттон ештер баған. Hayvaçıttığında üstalgazın geldi üstap çaraş ödür gücü örük bağın çok popturar anam böyle çok eve işte gücü artık bağın popturar neyin anı bilir anı işlerim.
We were able to show the love of Christ by doing humanitarian efforts there. We were also able to help a lot of people get jobs at our factory, and that gave us a real good status in the community. But it took a long time to really put ourselves into a position where they were willing to listen to what we had to say. And then, of course, in order to communicate the gospel clearly, we couldn't simply start by saying, Jesus died on the cross for your sins. They didn't understand that phrase at all. They might have heard of Jesus, but to them, he was just the God of their oppressors, the Russians. They may have heard of the word sin, but they had no real concept of what it was. And of course, they didn't know how God looked at sin. So all of that added together meant that we really had to spend a lot of time explaining the background behind Jesus dying on the cross for their sins. And the way that we did that was just simply go through God's story as it's written in the Bible.
И мы очень благодарны за Евангелие, что к нам оно поступило, и мы сейчас даже на родном тувинском языке Библию читаем.
And even though they themselves are very young Christians, and the church is really just a baby church at this point, they're already looking forward and saying, how can we see the gospel go beyond the borders of even our republic into the rest of the world?
В будущем планы, конечно, вот, чтобы много тувинцев уверовали и объединяться церквам, братьям и сестрами.
Сейчас на тувинском языке очень многие люди хотят его узнавать, читать и преподавать. И самое главное, я хочу, чтобы они сами учились и дальше преподавали, распространялось это Слово Божье. Доступно и понятно через свой язык.
why are we doing this? Is this worth it? And then as we see the church grow, as we see people come to know Christ, as we see this material change people's lives, the answer is yes.